All right, good evening. Good evening, it's 6 o'clock, March 18, 2019. Time to call the city council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Allen?
Here.
Mr. Austin?
Here.
Mr. Blankenship?
Here.
Mr. Hager?
Here.
Mr. Houston? Mr. Richards?
Here.
Mr. Wertz?
Here.
Mr. McCollum?
Thank you. Mr. Wertz, prepare the pledge, please.
If you'll bow your head. Father, be with the Franklin City Council as we conduct the business of our city. Be with our Franklin Police and Fire Departments as they serve as first responders and provide the safety for our community. Be with each of our constituents, conscientious city employees who provide the city's many services. We are grateful to the military men and women who work to provide our many freedoms. Let spring come to our awesome city this week. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank everyone for attending. First up for announcements, presentations, and public comment. Police Department has a promotion ceremony tonight for Lieutenant Carter, Lieutenant Lucas, Sergeant Knight, and Sergeant Dahl. So, perfect.
On behalf of the police department, we just would like to recognize these four individuals for their hard work and dedication, not only to the city, but to the police department. Great to see all their staff members here as well, so we appreciate that. We believe these four guys will help us take the police department in forward progress and help bring the culture we're trying to bring to the police department leadership. And so we thank them for coming, and we thank all you folks for coming. The first person I'd like to call up is Officer Jeffrey Dahl. Next up, Officer Dennis Kite. These two gentlemen were just promoted to sergeant. Next up, Sergeant Scott Carter. And Sergeant Edgar Lucas. These two gentlemen were just promoted to the rank of lieutenant. Thank you guys for your hard work. We appreciate it. I know the city appreciates it. We look forward to working together as a leadership team.
I would like to say thank you to all the police department for all the hard work you do. I know it's tough out on the streets, and we appreciate you taking care of Franklin, so thank you. And fire department, thank you. And the street department, thank you. What about you?
Maybe they don't be serious.
Is there any other announcements, presentations, public comment? Hearing none, we'll move into the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Have a motion and a second by Mr. Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, old business.
Move to read old business by title only.
Second.
Second by Mr. Eggers. All those in favor?
Aye.
A common council budgetary ordinance number 19-03, a budgetary ordinance repealing and replacing budgetary ordinance number 18-09, fixing and authorizing the payment of certain salaries of appointed officers and employees of the city of Franklin for the year 2019 sewer utility. If you remember, we dwelled on this quite a bit the last meeting. It was Sally Brown being promoted to the interim DPW superintendent, so she could be compensated. We were just moving some money from one line item to the other, to another line item, and we're not adding to the budget or subtracting for the budget. It's just simply putting it where Sally can be paid, and the treasurer's office is good with it. That sound good, Jay?
Yes.
Lynn, can we take care of that tonight, or is that?
Yes, this is for the public meeting, for the public hearing.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I guess at this point, we'll open it up for a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak or ask questions of what we are fixing to do? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed. So now we're ready for a motion and more discussion if need be.
Mayor, move to approve.
Was that a second by Mr. Evans? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, Sally.
Yes, thank you. That gets us to new business.
Move to read new business by title only.
Second.
Second, Mr. Words. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, new business, common council ordinance number 19-01, an ordinance regulating small private facilities, design requirements and permitting process, city attorney Lynn Gray and senior planner Joanna Myers.
Thank you, Mayor. I know many of you were in the audience at the Board of Works meeting, and this is similar, but for those of you that maybe weren't, if you recall in January of this year, Joanna, Mark, and I called to your attention the new FCC regulation from the Federal Communications Commission order that has essentially removed the authority of local entities, including states and cities and towns, to regulate through, to essentially cease regulation that effectively prohibits the placement of small wireless cell facilities in right-of-way and attaching to businesses or to property that is owned by state or local entities. You have before you, I thought it might be helpful for you to see what kinds of things are considered to be small wireless cell facilities. Initially, the presentation to many legislatures and to many of the public was that these are very small kinds of facilities that you won't even notice that will be placed within the right of way. It was common to use the term no bigger than a pizza box. The pictures that you have in front of you, however, are actually what these small cell wireless facilities actually look like. When I did the math, and it's just the kind of thing that Joanna and Mark and I like to do, the math actually they're closer to the size of a telephone booth. So having said that, when the FCC regulations went into effect, they essentially said that before we have not permitted anything to be in our right of way other than utilities. Councilman Wertz was a big proponent and champion of making sure that all of those facilities would go underground. And that was something that we've had in our zoning ordinances, our subdivision control ordinances, and you championed that, I think, Councilman Wertz. The FCC essentially said, you can't regulate that to the extent that it prohibits it anymore. That was in January. They did say, however, that local cities could require entities that were going to build in the right of way and or utilize the existing poles that are in the right of way, which would include our facilities, our street lights, our decorative lights, any structures that we have in our Board Works, in our right-of-ways. They did say you can require there to be an application, and they have to tell you what they're going to put in there, and you either must approve it within 60 days if it's on an existing facility, or you must approve it within 90 days if they're going to structure a facility. It's a very tight rein of when you have to approve these things, and they also said if you wanted to, you could design and adopt aesthetic standards by April 1st of this year. Wow. Yeah. Councilman Abbott, you look at me,
Yeah.
that's lightning speed for Washington. Essentially, I think what they were hoping is that municipalities didn't notice.
Our government doesn't move that fast.
To be frank, I think they were thinking that municipalities didn't notice, but we did. And so what you have before you are aesthetic standards that we, along with Mark Richards, Joanna did a ton of the heavy lifting, Alex Getchell reviewed and also gave some input, and then myself, and quite frankly, we argued with each other to see if we could get the most restrictive type of aesthetic standards that would still pass constitutional muster, and so we spent a lot of time going back and forth, can we do this, can we do that? And that is what is before you are the aesthetic standards. I'll let Joanna talk about how they were designed. I was somewhat surprised that there haven't been local ones that have been approved after the January 1st FCC ruling. There were some entities that had standards in place before January, and they haven't revised theirs, and I'm kind of surprised they haven't. We couldn't find any local ordinances that have gone into effect with the new design standards. So we pretty much were going from scratch and trying to create them as best that we could. They must be in place by April 1st if they're going to be valid, so we brought them to you today because we're hopeful that you will consider, as you're permitted to do, a waiver of the requirement of 2 hearings. As you know, gentlemen, when you pass an ordinance, generally speaking, there are certain ordinances that must be adopted in 2 hearings. Those would be budgetary ordinances and zoning ordinance. This does not fall within this. So if you are inclined to adopt this tonight, you can do that by virtue of a unanimous vote to authorize consideration of tonight. And then if you are going to adopt it, you have to have 5 of your 7 members, so you can, and that can get adopted tonight if you are inclined to do so. Otherwise, we will be asking for a special meeting to get it done in 2. So, having said that, procedurally, my guess is that we are going to be dealing with this sooner rather than later. The mayor has indicated he has been approached by AT&T. I know Joanna has met by some other providers. My suspicion is that you're going to find entities that are going to be created for the sole purpose of going out and securing sites and then turning around and leasing them to the major providers. But there's no doubt in my mind that they utilize every space that they're entitled to utilize. It could be upwards of 3,000 to 6,000 of these structures that we're going to be dealing with in the
Just for this, for the
correct.
the land area we have.
That's correct. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, I believe Franklin is 3 square miles essentially within our city proper. And I did pretty close to that, isn't it? It's 13, I'm sorry, 13 square miles proper, and I did the math and the number of it. And what did I call 13 square miles. That'd be a very small area anyway. 13 square miles. I did the math when we were in one of our meetings, and it came out to about 6,000. I can do math.
I do have a question on it, or maybe I should let you speak first before. All these new street lamps will put now, street lamps. They have access to that now.
Yes, sir.
But we can stop that,
No, sir.
no, I mean, as far as like, what, okay.
No, sir.
I did address that at the Board of Works meeting. When I met with AT&T, they called, wanted to meet with me. I didn't have any idea what they wanted to talk about. And it was about this. And they indicated by the law, they can, like down King Street, right in the middle, where we put our new street lights up and all that, they can put these towers on that. But they also indicated they want to work with the city and have the company that built those, to create one that matches, that would hold the weight. Now, whenever I say match, it's not gonna totally match it.
Of course.
So every 600 feet, there's liable to be a different, that, you know, it will look a little bit different, it would have this cell tower in it. However, that's just AT&T. Now you have 3 other companies that could come out with the same thing. So it's not good. I know that nobody on the city council wants it. I know we don't want it. We want the technology. But we don't want what we're trying to do after we spend a lot of money for the aesthetics.
You can create the ordinance so that when we put up like one pole, everybody attaches it on one pole or something like that.
No, you cannot. The mayor, I, Joanne, and Mark were livid when we read the FCC order. It's very restrictive as to what we can do, and anything that is deemed as being prohibitive in nature will be struck down. Now, I will tell you that, in fact, I'm doing a webinar tomorrow in the afternoon there. Municipalities across the country are really upset with this, as are the states, quite frankly. So there have been some legal challenges. There was a case filed in a district court asking that the FCC order be held until there was an opportunity to litigate this through the court system. And essentially they asked the court to issue an injunction ordering that this be held until such time as it could occur, and the court denied that request. And so not to be chicken little, but I believe that we need to be prepared April 1 to at least restrict it to the extent that we can.
And I will send it to our department's defense with Joanna and Mark and Lynn. We're the only one, I think, in the county that's addressed this so far that we can find out. So thank you guys for being proactive. And if you remember, we did something like this last year also.
Yeah, what we did last year, and that's what caused, I mean, there's a lot of money at stake. It's just, unfortunately, it's not here, it's on the East Coast. That's probably, but it's Washington DC that's dealing with it in terms of that. And what we did last year was we passed making everything underground.
Right.
For concern that this was gonna come. And many entities did that, many municipalities did that, and so they felt that the best way to counteract that was to go to the FCC and ask the FCC to issue a ruling that said you can't. Similar to what they did with satellite dishes, if you recall, a couple decades ago. And basically said we are preempted from regulating these things other than these aesthetic standards that we can.
So a couple things. I know there's reference to the previous ordinance that we did have. That still does apply to all of the utilities. It just does not apply to the small wireless facilities. In this ordinance, there's an 8-page exhibit that outlines all of the design requirements and permitting processes. So under some of the things that we have discussed for application requirements, one of the things that we are requiring is that they actually schedule a meeting in order to come and submit their documentation because of that shot clock. If it would come in when one of us is on vacation for an extended period or on leave, it could cause, us to lose a week or more. So we did make that a requirement to help address that. The FCC also made a number of requirements about how the applications can be packaged. So that is in there, that they can come in as one package up to 25 facilities. They also dictate the maximum fee that we can impose. So what you're seeing in the ordinance itself is the maximum that the FCC is allowing. In addition, as mentioned, that shot clock is referenced in here, which is kind of one of the key items. If you continue through, starting on page 4, it talks about location requirements, which we do put in there a co-location preference, trying to get them to go ahead and go on either existing facilities, or if someone has installed a new structure, that they then co-locate on that structure. In that section, there is number 2, directly to Mr. Adams' question. If they are looking at replacing one of our items, streetlights or signs, that due to structural reasons it needs to be upgraded, it does state here that they need to use the same vendor and style and color of that facility. And then there is a number of items regarding the Guidelines on placement, items 1 through 13 on page 4. These apply to not only the wireless facilities, but also the support structures and the ground-mounted equipment enclosures. I know one of the things that does come up with work in the right-of-way is about restoration of that. It does cross-reference our current ordinance and any amendments there made after, that all restoration be compliant with our street cut ordinance. And then it goes through the permitting requirements, enforcement, and then the definitions themselves come directly from the FCC rule.
So, Joanna, if I may ask, on F, number 5, this is the application for up to 5 facilities, $500. Is that basically telling us it's $100 per unit?
Well, if they just bring in one, it's $500.
Okay,
Or they can do 5 for $500.
I see. And Lynn, you were saying potentially up to 6,000?
Yeah, what I expect to happen, and why it was so important for us to put an application is not complete until you meet all of these requirements, and our staff isn't authorized to accept it until, if they come in and they drop off a packet and an application and it has 200 requests, we have within 60 days, we have to either deny it or approve it, or at 60 days it's automatically approved. That's called the shot clock. So I anticipate that they're going to bundle them, not only for the money reasons, but also, quite frankly, to try to overwhelm staff would be, and I'm trying to anticipate a worst case scenario. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm trying to be realistic. If I were in that business, that's what I would try to do, given the staff limitations. So we have to be very, very careful that we don't accept anything until it meets all of our requirements, because that's when our shot clock begins to run. And the FCC uses the word shot clock.
Is there a density, how dense will these things be? Could AT&T come in and put one every mile, or is it just going to be
600 feet.
Every 600 feet.
600 feet, it'll be all over the place.
I have a question following up, Joanne. The density in the downtown area, because these are not going up in height, they're gonna be at the 16 to 20 foot or less height intervals. And in the downtown, the structure's blocked. And if you have 4 bidders, could all 4 of them be at every corner or street post putting up?
same post?
Well, they could all be on different posts.
Yeah.
Correct.
Potentially, yes.
Is this the most restrictive that we can be?
Yes. Now, I would say, Mr. Adrian, it's gonna be fluid, but we're watching it.
I understand.
We're trying. If the law changes and they are permitted to be struck down, then we'll go back to, you can't use it right away, period.
Right.
If there's something that somebody tries and it works, we can add it, but I think you have to have something in place.
By the
They'll
first.
be able to amend it by April 1st. But we had some lively discussions about how restrictive can we get, even on the side of being as restrictive as possible.
I understand.
And if we're wrong, I'd rather be that way than be.
There is no separation requirement within this ordinance because the FCC states that you cannot do that.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Unfortunately.
So the monies involved going into this is going into your budget,
It goes into the general.
general fund? Because just doing some quick math, you're looking at $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. Doing some quick math, I might be wrong, but
What I anticipate,
up to $6,500 a crack.
what has been told generally, aside from that, they're really just small structures. I mean, that's the way it's been presented. What's also been presented generally that I think some entities think, well, it's not going to happen immediately, is the cost of doing the 5G network is extraordinary. I mean, it's hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
And so what has been proposed is that this isn't going to happen immediately because we don't have the money to do a 5G network at $1 billion per community. I think that would be a false sense of security, because I think that's when the least people come in and buy up these sites and secure them and wait for them to come along.
And installation has already started in Indianapolis. It's
Correct.
one of the test locations,
Yeah.
so with our proximity.
Right.
That was my question, if companies can come in and buy up and then resell it, why can't we control some of that land and us receive these money?
It prohibits us from.
Well, we do, if they are attaching to one of our facilities,
Build in the,
we can actually charge them $270 per facility per year in rent. The FCC even maxes out what we can rent our own structures.
because one of our first thoughts was, all right, we'll just rent it to them for $1 million a facility. They tell you you cannot go any higher than that.
Yeah, because at a height like that Bishop mentioned, 16, that's gonna be pretty intrusive, even if it is gonna be a size of a pizza box, that's something that's gonna catch your eye as you're going down the street. So that's not gonna be I don't care what kind of bowl we put it on, it's gonna look, it's not gonna look good at all.
Well, I'll make a comment, Joanne can elaborate this. One of the things I've heard in South Carolina is the technology for driverless vehicles is 5G. And so the 5G is going to spread into metropolitan or concentrated areas of wealth where people want vehicles that can use a 5G to
Drive assist.
driverless vehicle. So that's one of the reasons that I think Washington DC is so liberal in passing and putting this forward.
Yeah, because they essentially are telling us they don't want us, just like with satellite dishes. You remember 2 years, or 2 decades ago or so, they basically came along and said the federal government is preempting local regulation of satellite dishes because it interferes with communication. I think they're going the same way with this kind of technology. And remember, this only deals with our right-of-ways. And so, or our property, because that's what we have jurisdiction of. Nothing that I've seen or anything indicates that they can't go talk to private individuals and place these things on. Now, I don't think that's the desired place for them, because obviously the corridors are where it was worked, but
Backyard.
absolutely. Absolutely.
When I met with AT&T, they insinuated to me that they're starting Indianapolis, St. Louis, there's 2 other cities, but in 5 years, they plan on being nationwide. And it's going to be here, 5G, it is technology, and it's faster speeds, and, that's the good thing. It is an economic development driver. However, we're going to have to figure out what is the best way to combat with this, and I think you guys put that ordinance together for a good start. That's the way I see it.
Well, it looks like you've done our homework, man. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I just wish we could do more.
Well, I mean, if we're
We'll see.
regulated by the federal government.
They preempted us, they really have.
Right, I mean, it's like we're trying to cover our city's responsibilities, and I think we've already done that with this document.
So,
Mayor, I would make a motion to approve ordinance 19-
May I, sir, because we first, if I might, the request tonight is to ask that you would move by unanimous consent to consider the ordinance on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
second by Mr. Allen to approve this by first reading.
No, sir, it's technical language. Pursuant to IC 364613, Mr. Ager's motion was to consider this with unanimous consent of council. That we have a
On
motion
the first reading, yes.
on first reading. So we're first voting to consider it.
Mr. Abbott, you seconded?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none.
Now we may consider the ordinance.
Motion to approve.
Second by Mr. Richards.
In order to pass, it must have 5 of the elected members of our council, because that's a 2/3 vote. So if we could,
Same public hearing,
no, it doesn't mean required.
just
But if you want to call for one, you
I
may,
would-
let's go ahead and do it, just as a
Yeah, I-
belt and suspenders kind of.
I would call for a public hearing if anyone has any other questions that didn't get answered or have something else to say. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Now we are ready for vote.
And roll call, please, because we're passing on first reading, we must have 2/3 majority vote. Which unless somebody's .66 a person, would be 5 out of 7. Is my math there, right?
25 cents.
There's a couple of us that are.
Is that it?
Mr. Abbott?
Aye.
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Blankenship?
No.
Mr. Akers?
Aye.
Mr. Hukin?
Yes.
Mr. Richards?
Aye.
Mr. Wertz?
Aye.
Passed six votes in favor of the motion.
One against.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Joanna.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thanks, Lynn.
Okay, next.
Yeah, nice work.
Request approval of a yearly tax abatement compliance reports Caterpillar Reman Power Truck, Heartland Machine and Engineering LLC, Nitrex Incorporated, and DP Rex Healthcare Packaging Incorporated, Community Development Specialist Ronnie Oliver.
Thank you. So tonight will be short and sweet, but what that means in the next couple meetings, I'm probably gonna have a boatload of these for you. We'll start with Cat Reman. They are, the numbers for personal property improvements has gone down, but that's due to depreciation because they're about 8 years into a 10-year tax abatement. And they're down 29 employees from their SB1 estimates. However, that is through natural attrition and lean operations. So if you'll note, their hourly wages have gone way up. They've done a lot more profit sharing with the employees that are there. So they didn't let anybody go. This is just through natural attrition. They're down 29 employees. Do you want to do these? Shall we do them?
We should.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, supposed to name that was KC 2019-04, Cat Reman.
So, just an overview, council. The Economic Development Commission had found all 4 of these businesses in substantial compliance. And once you do these individually, you can see the numbers in front of you concerning their employees, their salaries, and et cetera. So just to let you know, it was a unanimous decision at the Economic Development Commission to move this forward to the City Council approval.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Austin, I
Yes.
just want to, so the audience knows, you serve on the Economic Development Commission.
Yes.
That's how you have this information.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So we're looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Agers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
Next.
The next case is KC 2019-18, Heartland Machine and Engineering. They're down to employees, but their hourly wages are considerably higher. That's from their SB1 estimates, and they're over on their real property improvements. I don't know if Mr. Austin has anything.
Well, I mean, their average hourly salary on the SB form is $28.85, and then they're currently at $36.26 per hour. We find that a tremendous hourly rate for this county and the city, so well above the county average.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Austin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. And the next case is C 2019-46. This is BP Rex Healthcare Packaging, formerly Rexam. They are right at, they're a little over on their number of employees. They're right out on their average hourly salaries, pretty much right at their personal property improvements, a little bit over. So they were, the EDC found them to be in compliance.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wertz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you. And the last one tonight is case C 2019-33, Nitrex. They are over on their total number of employees. They're slightly under our personal property improvements, but as you know, they only get a tax abatement on the amount. So even if they're off on their SB1 estimate, they just get on what they actually spent. And they're a little bit over on their average hourly salaries, barely. So, but the EDC found them to be in compliance.
And they do have 11 more additional employees. They're paying $17.12 an hour versus $16.95, which is on the SB. So we found it was danger compliance. And let's do the vote and then we'll do a small, make a few comments.
Motion to approve.
Second. Second by Mr. Richards. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
So I wanted to let everyone in the audience know that the tax abatements that we do through the city of Franklin for companies that are here, they come before us and ask for up to a 10-year tax abatement, et cetera, for the building itself and the property investment machinery that goes inside the building. So once the Economic Development Commission approves that and it moves towards the city council, we would then review that each year. So that's what this is right now tonight. We're reviewing 4 companies that review each year to make sure that they are in compliance with what they told us they were going to do. So whether it be their $6.3 million in personal property improvements, they're at $6.25 million in case C 2019-33, which is my charts. As an example, instead of 25 employees, they have 36. And it shows their salaries, what they're paying, et cetera, et cetera. So just an overview of some people in the crowd that is exactly what we're doing. We review everything each year that they are abated. So just a quick review.
Okay, and I want to add one other thing, and you know what I'm going to say, I need to say it here. Some people have the wrong impression that tax abatements are like tax-free for 10 years. That's not true. It's like the first year they may get a 100% off, and then the 9th year or 5, how many years it's set. But it's tiered into each year you get more money until they get to the final and they're paying full amount. So it's not like some people that ask, why do you get tax abatements? I gotta pay taxes. Why do they not? And these companies are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. So you want to give them somewhat of a break to bring jobs. So just my 2 cents I say every time, right?
Yes, thank you all. If I may interject, I didn't move fast enough during public announcements, but I want to let everyone know that we have our first public meeting for our strategic plan for our cultural arts district. And it's April 18th at 6 p.m. upstairs at the Johnson County Museum. So we're asking people to come out and let us know what they think about the arts district that we're hoping to get designated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we do not have any other business. However, we'll start down here with council comments. With the signature on the check.
Nothing additional, sir.
Swords.
There will be an RDC meeting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. at this location.
Just kind of building on what Richard just said, a little preview of what we're doing. We're not going to have a long meeting tomorrow, hopefully, not like last month, but we're going to be looking at the purchase of the Franklin Auction Building for the city, and then also we're going to be talking about bringing the property purchased in the floodway that's earmarked for the Young Street
Greenways Trails.
Greenways Trails project, bringing that into the US 31 TIF, which will allow us to spend TIF dollars from the 31 district in that area to add trails and possibly an amphitheater at some point and some other things.
Okay, and I'd like to add to that, since you brought that up. We're expanding the area for expenditure. We're not expanding the area to collect. We've had a lot of people think that we're trying to collect more TIF money, and that's not what we're trying to do. We just want to be able to expend some of it there to help with our city needs. Is that all you got, Bob?
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Austin?
Nothing, Mayor.
Mr. Adams?
The original planning commission tomorrow. No meeting tomorrow.
There's no meeting on the planning commission, and you serve on the planning commission.
I'll do that.
All right, Ms. Gray?
I don't have anything else?
Ms. Rhodes?
No, sir.
Move to adjourn.
Second by Mr. Austin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?